Hi, in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at Emacs EWW web browser and creating playlists of videos using mpv.el, which is a package for Emacs, from an Invidious instance. Invidious is an open source front end to YouTube that you can run in a Docker container. And I covered this in a previous video, but the issue is that to actually get this working, what I was doing was a lot of keyboard shortcuts. So I'd have to come onto the link here, either the image or the link below, press W to copy the link, then run metax mpv play URL, right, and then press Control Y to paste in the URL and then press return. That's going to open up in a second. Okay, and I'm just going to stick that on top. And then to add an additional video to the playlist, I'd have to repeat the procedure, but with a different function. So I'd come across and go W, copy the URL, mpv, append, playlist append URL, and then Control Y and return. And that would append that video to the playlist. And that's boring. That's too many keyboard shortcuts to press to go through and do that. So, after a bit of work, what I've done is come up with this that will automate the whole procedure. So you just have to press L on the keyboard over a video link, and it will basically create a playlist of all the videos that you select. So, this is the code. So let me show you this in action. So what I do is I just come across here, and let's come across to these videos. So all I need to do is press L on the keyboard. Give that a second, that's going to open up. Put that on top. Move that across there. Switch back to EWW. Put the cursor over either the image or the link down here. Press L. That's added to the playlist. Added to the playlist. And I can switch to MPV here. Press F8 and it's going to show me all the links there. And if I switch back to EWW and press F2, which is the keyboard shortcut for my Hydra, you'll see here what I have is the ability to control MPV from within Emacs. So I can seek forward, backward frame, pause, quit, insert the playback position into an org document. And we have playlist controls here, so we can go to the next item in the playlist, the previous item. We can jump to a playlist entry, and we can remove a playlist entry. So if I press N on the keyboard, what's going to happen is it's going to, in a second, shift to the next video. And you can see that's a bigger video because it's resized. So I go to the next one with N. A second. And that's resized quite large. Hang on, it's just moved across the other screen. Hang on a second. You come across, there we go. Let me just move the size down there. And you can see if I press E on the keyboard with Emacs selected.
Hi guys, Tory Justice Minister Alex Chalk was attempting
E on the keyboard and I can jump to a playlist entry, and you can see here this is the current playlist entry indicated by the asterisks. So I can use the keyboard, the arrow keys to go up and down. Select that one, and that's going to load up, unless it was the one I just had. No, there we go. And so there's the video. So that's a much easier way of queuing up videos with MPV from within EWW. So as I said, all we need to do is just come through all of these and queue them up. I won't do any that might have copyright. There's Adam Pearson, so I can queue that up. I just press L on the keyboard, and we also have we just grab the corner. Why is it so difficult to grab the corner? Okay, Put that on top. Okay, and so we can just basically come through. We could search for something else. I think there was a thing from DT on quick. There we go, Qtile. So all I have to do is press L on the keyboard, add it to the current playlist. And what we have is a set of default options for MPV. So for this demo, what I've done is set the video to be displayed on this monitor. But what we can also do is actually set it to be displayed full screen on the second display. Let me just come back up to the top here and show you that. So here we have set MPV default options. I'm commenting that back out. So these are the default options that will be used with mpv.el, and you have to put each option in double quotes like this, like --fs --fs screen 1, and what that will do is that will set the video to be displayed full screen on your second display. So let's have a look at this code then. So what we've got here is just this little block of code. So first of all, we're defining a function, and we're calling that mpv play.-eww. We've got the description that shows up when you run MetaX. So mpv eww, start any mpv process playing the video at URL. And this is the gubbins of it. So what we had to do is actually work out where we have to grab the link from where the cursor is, basically. So we have to try and grab the link from under the cursor. So the way we're doing that is with let URL shr-url at point current prefix arg. And what that does is basically it creates a variable called URL, which is going to be equal to the URL under the cursor, basically. Now we've got this next function here from the mpv.el package, and what this does is this checks it's a valid URL for mpv to play. So we don't just give it a URL, we check that it can be played with mpv. And then we've got this little block of code here, and this is basically an if-else statement. So what we're doing is we're saying if not mpv process. The mpv process is when you use mpv.el, what it does is it connects to mpv and creates a sort of socket so that it can communicate over the JSON RPC interface. And this basically, the mpv process is going to be nil if mpv is not playing. So what we want to do is we check if mpv is not running. That means there's nothing playing, basically. So mpv isn't running. So what we need to do is we then run mpv start and then the URL. And then what we have is the else part here down. You can see how it's actually outdented, as it were. It's not indented as much as this one. So that falls through. So if mpv is running, it falls through to this section here. And we run mpv playlist append URL, because obviously you can't append a URL to a playlist that doesn't exist. So that's why we do it in this order. We check if mpv is not running. If it's not running, we play the URL with mpv start. But if it is running, we append the URL to the playlist, basically. Then what we've got down here is evil collection define key normal eww mode map. And we've got L here as the keyboard shortcut, which makes sense because you can just scroll up and down and just press L, not have to move your hand. And that's going to run the mpv play eww function. So that's all there is to it. That's how we can simplify things. So rather than going through this procedure of pressing W, meta X, mpv, play URL, control Y, return. Okay, now this is going to open on the second display. Have I evaluated it?
In the last couple.
Okay, so there's DT. And let me just shift that across. Actually, what I'm going to do is just reevaluate that bit of code I had to set it to display on the second screen. Let me just scroll all the way back up. There we go. And so I'll just reevaluate this by putting the cursor here and pressing Control XE. Okay. And switch back here. And now when I press L on the keyboard, what's going to happen is it's going to open this video up full screen on my second monitor. Wait a second.
In the last couple of years.
Okay, so there's DT on the second monitor. And if I just come back a second, I can now add any other video. So I can just press L, see added. And what I can do now is press function F2.
My telling when.
I've got the Hydra. So what this means is you can actually, the first time you launch the video, what happens is MPV gains focus and you have to switch back to Emacs. So, let me just have some tea. So again, the first time, let me just quit this and show you. Escape. So you can see here, Emacs is the currently active application. When I come across here and when MPV starts, give it a second.
In the last.
Okay, so you can now see up the top, right to the right of the activities text, it says MPV. So what I'm saying is the first time you launch MPV on GNOME, it will gain focus and you have to switch back to Emacs, right? But when you add additional items to the playlist, it's not giving focus back to MPV. So you can then use the Hydra
Last couple of years,
with Emacs in focus. So you don't have to keep switching back focus between MPV and Emacs. You can now
telling window manager.
You know, pause, play, go forward, backwards, list the playlist. So here's the playlist. I can select the next item in the playlist, and that's going to play on the second display. So I can now press Q here. That's going to quit MPV and escape, and we've escaped. So that's how we can make using EWW with MPV a lot more user-friendly. Don't have to type so many keyboard shortcuts. You can just come through, scroll up and down, cursor over link, just press L. So you don't have to move your hand at all. And it's going to play the video on your second display, full screen, and then you can easily just come through and add additional items to the playlist. So that's EWW, and there's the option for the MPV default options. Again, it's a list, and you have to put each option in double quotes like this. And so let's just come across MPV diode. So this was something I showed you in a previous video that I just did earlier today about how we can integrate mpv.el into diode. And so what this basically does is we have a list of supported MIME types here, like video, Matroska, MP4, WebM, FLAC, OGG, all these different MIME types. And what we're basically doing is when we go to open a file, we're checking if the file type, the MIME type of that file is one of these listed supported MIME types. And if it is, what we do is we then play it with MPV. So what we can actually do is just basically a bit like open with, except that what it does is instead of opening MPV as an external application, it opens it using mpv.el with Emacs, and that allows you to create playlists from videos in Diode. So let me just go back to the top and just where's the thing? Ah, you bugger. Let me just scroll back up and I'll show you that briefly, as I showed you in the previous video. And reevaluate that. Okay, press L on the keyboard. You can see it's now come up saying always on top. And so if I press F2, you can see I can now control it from within Emacs. The Emacs has got focus up here, to the right of the activities menu there. So MPV doesn't have focus yet. I can completely control it like that. And if I just come out of that, I can now come into this directory and basically just queue up a load of videos by pressing L on the keyboard. So see there, added. Oh, that one opened up. Don't know why I was doing that. And I can list the items in the playlist like that. And additionally, this keyboard shortcut checks the type of the file you're going to open as to whether it's going to use MPV or Emacs. So you can see here, if I just press L on the keyboard, it's opening the org file in Emacs. And if I was to try and cheat here and go touch, let's do touch test.mp4, some text. So you can see here, when I press the keyboard shortcut, it's not trying to open that test.mp4 file with MPV, because if I run file b-mime type, you can see it has a mime type of text plain. So we can't trick it. Whereas if you use open with, which is a Emacs package to allow you to set up a relationship between file extensions and an application to open them with, that would basically try and open with MPV. So actually checking that using MIME types is a superior way of determining the content, what a file is, rather than an actual file extension, because they're pretty much useless on Linux. They don't sort of mean the same thing as on Windows. So that's how we can improve EWW with MPV. So there we go. Not much code, but it took a little bit of while to actually work it out. But it's just much easier than having to press W, yank the URL, then meta-x MPV play URL, paste it in, press return. It's too much. We can automate the whole process with a bit of code and just press L on the keyboard. So that's all for now, and hope that helps out making Emacs more of an entertainment system, either from within Diode or from within EWW, so that you can search for videos on your local Invidious instance and play them all from within Emacs, and then control them all and queue up videos to be played in a playlist, jump to any item on the playlist, remove it, and it's just a much easier way of playing videos without having to constantly move windows about, or having to constantly switching focus between MPV and Emacs. So I'll put links to all this under the video, and that's all for now.